Hello friends, welcome back for another part of our walkthrough of Oxygen Not Included Spaced Out DLC. Let's take a look at a couple things that have changed. Food-wise, I think I talked about this, but food-wise, we are making a lot more than we're producing, so we're getting a decent amount of food waste. And when that happens, that's basically a signal that we're just throwing resources away, so I stopped creating as many bristleberries, and that's because our barbecue has fully kicked in at this point. So yeah, I'm not too worried about food, and I have kind of downsized a little bit. So it'll also need to be something that you keep an eye on when you're playing, just to make sure that you're not overproducing way too much. So for 10 duplicants, this doesn't look like a lot of food, but this plus the barbecue plus all the sleet wheat that you can get is a lot of food. So keep an eye on that. Another thing is our original pit of polluted water has now fully drained. It's been used to create reed fibers. It's been used to create oxygen for us. So that's a good and a bad thing. The good thing is that we now have space to expand out our food area, and I'll create a setup here just to store our food a little bit better, because it's kind of just sitting in this spot, not super efficient. There can be germs on this, and we're also mixing together our ingredients and our finished food, which can take up too much space in the fridge, so I'm going to split those up. But the other thing that it means is we really need to get onto a different oxygen source. It's not like we're running out, so I did clear out this area, and this is where we're going to be building our new oxygen production area. This is all filled with polluted water, so this was quite a bit of water at first. Still have some here, and here, and here, and there. So I'm not worried about like running out. Plus I could use this for oxygen if I really needed it, but it is a good signal that we need to switch, so we'll do that. But first, let's get our food area changed up. If you watched the base game walkthrough, you've probably seen this before, and this is going to be really similar. So all I'm going to be doing is extending this out to the space that it would normally occupy if this big pit of water wasn't here. And this isn't the most, like, essential change. This is just something that I like to do to make sure that we are getting the best out of our food storage. So I'm just going to open up this area a lot more. And this area is going to be kind of non-operational for just a second. What we can do, let me see if I actually have somebody spec for this. No, I don't have anybody spec'd in aesthetic design, so I'm still going to have to rely on the plants. So that's kind of a bummer. Alright. So this is just going to be non-operational for just a minute. We'll get fixed up here in just a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an area that's over on this side of the setup. That's going to be just to store our food and have it be cleaned off with chlorine, just in case there's any germs on it. We're doing very well with food poisoning as it is, but we might as well make sure we cover the last of the cases to basically assure that my duplicants will not get it. And also it'll keep our food for a little bit longer than it's being kept for right now, so we might as well do that. Just going to be clearing the new alerts here. So, my new Great Hall is just going to extend out to about here. We need to create, or rather re-put our furniture back, which is obviously in a different category. So put our plant back. And then if we take on some more duplicants at some point, which we definitely will have some more here at some point, just going to create the extra mess tables for them, and that'll kind of restore our Great Hall. Now this setup is going to be very particular. Let me actually bump this down just a little bit. So this setup is going to be to help put our food in a place that is going to keep it more clean, so it'll be basically steeped in chlorine. So the build here is just going to be a mechanized airlock with a mesh tile above it. Below, I'm actually going to remove this, is going to be a door and mechanized airlock as well. That is going to be useful to help us vacuum this out and get the water that's going to need to be drained off of this, which I'll explain here in just a second. So the way that we're going to seal this off is I'm going to put a vent here for liquid. Let's put some automation here really quickly, some signal switches. I want a signal switch on this, I want a signal switch on the door, and I want a signal switch on the bottom door. So I'm going to hook all those up really quick. There we go. Let me seal this off, by the way. So our duplicates still should be entering from this side and going there to eat their food. Let's put our plant back, set the direction on that. Okay, now that we got that, I'm going to put a fridge right here so that my duplicants can reach it when they're going up this ladder. So my duplicants will grab the food from the fridge. Let me clear out all these wires, too. kind of in the way. We'll restore all this. I guess for right now we can just kind of build around it. Now what we need to do if we want this to all be automated is I want to be able to ship in food to this spot. So I'm just going to place a conveyor chute right on top of the fridge. Because there's some foods that make sense to store in the fridge and some that don't. You can even see down here, I am not storing my nutrient bar, muck root, and berry sludge. Because it never goes bad based upon the temperature. So I'm just always going to leave those out. For this door right now, I'm just going to close it. We also need a place to put our polluted water that might be in the way. So this is going to be the first time that I have to do this. Let me just kind of dump it somewhere. I guess I could put it here since I'm pumping it out. So I don't want to spec it for everything. I only want to spec it for stuff that's being swept because I want to get it out of here. This needs to be airtight so that I can fill this with chlorine. Alright, so my auto sweeper can cover basically this entire place. Let's put it right here. Need a conveyor loader so that we can send the stuff out that's not good anymore. That'll be for things like if my food rots in the fridge, I can ship it out of there before it becomes a problem. So we have our three shipping items that are always going to go together. The conveyor chute, the conveyor loader, and the auto sweeper. Since we're going to be filling this with chlorine, we're going to need a gas vent. And I'm going to put that gas vent on some automation, or rather just a signal switch so that we can open and close it when we're ready. I'm also just going to need a gas pump to pump this out. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to also put this on a signal switch so we can turn it on and off. And this is just going to get pumped out into this other room. You might think, oh, this isn't sealed right now. That's not going to do anything. And you're definitely right. We're going to seal this up with some water. So let me connect it up to some water really quickly, and I'll show you how this is going to work. Let's let our duplicants catch up here. Again, because this is a setup that I don't want my duplicants to have to go back and maintain later, I'm just going to build it with conductive wire so that if I ever do switch on to fully conductive wire, then we won't need to get in there and redo all the setup. We should just ideally only have to do it once. Alright, now that we're connected up to water, what I can do... Oh, we're not connected quite yet. Come on, Ada, hurry up. Okay, there we go. All we need to do with this is we just need to turn it on for a second and turn it off for a second. Like that. As long as we have any water right here, I can open this door, if there's anything resting on here, by the way. We just need this one little tiny piece of water. And the reason why is because when I close this door, it's going to create a vacuum on this side. Or rather, like, not a vacuum, but like a barrier so that no air can cross it. But it will still be open to my duplicants, so my duplicants can actually fetch food through this little hole right here. So, kind of a cute way to add a airtight room, but also let duplicants have access to the contents of it. Let me set up our bottle emptier, just take polluted water, but only the swept polluted water, because we don't want it to be emptying the ones that are just sitting here. I only want it to be emptying the ones that I tell them to. So just going to mark this for sweep, and they will grab the waters out of here. The actual contents of something, I might have some bins requesting right now for sweep. I probably want to turn those off, because I'll just let the auto sweeper get it out of there for me. So yeah, they're just going to grab the polluted water. Looks like we need to get the rest of this connected up to power. I'll turn off my pump for right now. We also need to run our chlorine line. So we've been storing chlorine in these tanks, and that's kind of what I've been talking about being very useful for this. So our chlorine line is just going to come straight up here and into our setup. Going to close the vent for right now because I don't really want to have this running until we can vacuum everything else out. Alright. Let's see. Let me do this. Let me give my duplicant some time to fix all this up, to build this. And then I will wait until this is all totally vacuumed out before we turn on our chlorine line and we start to get this filled with chlorine. Then we'll set up the shipping for this and we'll call it good and move on to something else. So, yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, pretty much got this vacuumed out. It's getting pretty close. There's a couple things we can do in the meantime, though, and anytime a duplicant is going to be running in here to grab food, I kind of want to make sure their hands are clean. So I'm going to clear a little bit of space to make sure we have extra room for sinks. So we'll get that in here in just a sec. I also want to make sure that this stays closed for the time being, so let me set up this automation wire to not be connected quite yet. There we go. Make sure we turn it off so that it doesn't accidentally open and ruin all of our progress. There. So now I'm just going to create some sinks that I'm going to have my duplicants require to wash their hands before they come in here and touch any of their food. This will just assure that if they get exposed to any other sources of food poisoning, which there can be quite a few out on the map, that they don't get it on their hands and then ingest it when they eat. So I'm just going to throw in some sinks like that. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to only enforce it if they're going left, because that should only be the direction that they're going anyway. Hook this up to our water line. Again, be careful that you don't build it through these natural tiles and destroy your plants that are planted there, because this is still giving us a lot of morale by having that nature reserve up. They can reach up there, so we should be fine. There's our drainage line. Let's see where this is connected to. Looks like I can just run it right up here. There we go. The rest of this I don't really need. Might as well clean it up. So yeah, got that. Let's also set up our shipping really quickly too. So for the stuff that's in here, I only want to ship things out that are not food. So we'll start shipping all this stuff out that was in here before. We're having a little bit of brownouts. Probably have too many things on the same transformer, but this should get closed off here in just a second. It's also possible that something in here could be producing extra gases, which is why it's good to get it swept out, but I think it's just the carbon dioxide. I don't think it's anything else. Let's fix these power problems really quickly too. Talked about this a couple times in terms of like when you can split your transformers. So I know the one that I'm using has too much draw because I keep getting these little brownouts on it. So I might as well just split it up into two parts. You don't need to be overly scientific about it, but as long as you lighten the load on the one that they're connected to, you should be fine. So I'll just connect two up to the same one for right now, and then we can deconstruct and get the other one out of here. There we go. Once that gets all connected, that will allow me to get power back here, so we'll know exactly when that happens. So it looks like we are close to being totally vacuumed out. And note that this little piece of water is what's keeping this thing from filling back up with gas. So once this pump is done, we can turn it off. Looks like we have a vacuum all in the corners and stuff too, so it looks like we're good. Let's enable our chlorine to start flowing in here. And there we go. Now we just need to set up our shipping lines to get the right foods there. So any cooked food I'm going to want to send over here, and any not cooked food I'm going to want to send down to my cooking area. So this is going to be a line for cooked food. Just kind of send it down like this. There we go. And then the foods that I want to actually store in this fridge, I'm going to have to set up myself. So let's see, cooked foods, barbecue, berry sludge we don't need to store in the fridge, but I still want to store it in this room. Bristleberry is an ingredient, cooked seafood, fried mushroom, bristleberry. Grub fruit's a raw ingredient. Grub fruit preserve is done. Raw, don't need to store it in here. Raw, don't need to store it in here. Done, raw, done, raw. Okay. We're gonna have to do the same thing when we ship stuff over there too, but it's gonna be slightly different. So we just need to identify all the things that we want stored in that room. So this, basically anything my duplicants are allowed to eat. Yes, 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 no, yes, no, no, yes, no, yes, yes, no, yes, yes, no. Ugh. There. Now we're going to need to go and undo all the stuff that's being shipped down to our ingredients area to assure that we are only sending the ingredients. So it's going to be a little bit of an exercise, but, you know, we're going to get it. All right, well, I don't want to send this or this because those are done foods. That's an ingredient. That's not. That's not. That's not. That is. That's not. That is. That is. That's not. Is. Not. Not. Is. Not. Not. Is. Okay. And then our fridge for this area. We also want to specify... This is a lot of effort. Oh, cooking ingredients. We need to make sure we're shipping those too. And it looks like we are, so we should be good on that one. Let's make sure we're storing the right things here too. So any done foods I want to get out of here. So no barbecue, no seafood, no fried mushroom, no bristleberry preserve. Hawk root's already not being stored in there. No omelets, no pickled meals, and no roast grub fruit nuts. So this ought to really empty out this fridge because it'll hopefully all get transferred over to where it's supposed to go. But we need to also ship out the stuff that we don't want here anymore. So kind of a long exercise, but it all makes sense once you get everything set up. So we'll get our conveyor loader set up so we can start shipping the right stuff out to the right places. Alright, this is going to be basically the same settings as, or I guess the exact opposite settings as your refrigerator. So all the stuff that you're going to want to have shipped out of here. So we'll get that. Let's see. So this is all done food. Done, 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 and not that one. Done. Huh. There. Okay, now we have a full setup for our food area. This is going to assure that when they're sitting in here that it's a totally stale, or not stale, no, totally sterile environment. They're in the refrigerator. This gives them the longest chance of lasting in this type of setup. So it seems pretty overly complicated, but it does alleviate pressure on your fridges, and it does get my duplicants traveling the least amount of time when they go to eat for the day. They just have to run in here. They're going to get the bonus from the room. They're going to wash their hands. Let me set the direction on these. They'll pick up their food, and then they will go to eat right away. So pretty straightforward loop here. We are retaining our Great Hall rooms and our Nature Reserve rooms, so yeah, kind of a done setup there. I know I've talked about this before in the base game, but a little more detail in this one. And I think that'll be it for this video. I wasn't expecting it to last this long, but it did. So for the next one, probably right after this in terms of cycle time, we're going to get onto a new oxygen source because ours is definitely dwindling and we want to get set up on a more permanent one. So we'll do that next. All right, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Have a good one.